series of things that I've learned from stuff that I've read over the years. But then I realised I'd be doing what my kids would call some sort of weird brain flex. A normal muscle flex is, where you do some sort of, check out my muscles. A brain flex, weird or not, is basically where you brag about the fact that you can read. Oh, check out my brain, I can read. Yes, I wrote that down. It became pretty clear to me that I was being asked to share my story, not my understanding of someone else's. And that would involve opening up and being vulnerable, which I think you'll agree is a really hard thing to do. Being vulnerable implies a risk, and there is a very real risk. In about 10 minutes, you may have a very different opinion of me. You wait. But I'm okay with that. So I should probably start at the beginning. It's a very good place to start. Yeah. She didn't even have my notes. I grew up in a very religious family. My dad was a minister in the Methodist Church, and later on the Uniting Church. Very much supported by my mum, who is here. They worked very much as a team. As a family, we moved around probably more than average. I was born in Kahuna, moved to Mernda, then down to East Melbourne, up to Pyramid Hill in the north of the state, then back down to Sunshine, and then over to Mount Waverley before I got married and moved out. At church, we were always very involved in whatever activities were going on. Dad had me doing my first Bible reading when I was 5 years old. John 3:16, just in case I wanted to know. Then there was Sunday school, youth group. I spent my teenage years at Sunshine, where our church youth group had a musical stage show called He's Alive. We took that to various places around the state. We may even have done it here in the back hall. I can't remember though. I'm not sure. I even sang in it. Thank you. In a duet with Jackie's cousin Dave. Sorry? Yeah, no way. So yeah, with I've lost my spot. And yes, that really is as funny as it sounds. Because Dave's a terrible singer. I'm not really much better. Now, because it was apparently quite difficult to get ministers to come to the western suburbs, areas like Sunshine, they used to throw in this benefit, which the ATO was probably cracked down on by now. But it was a benefit where they could send their kids to the nearest Uniting Church private school without fees. So off I went, tie, suit, the whole bit to Essendon Grammar. Coincidentally, where there was a whole bunch of other PKs, preachers' kids. We all set our days with truck drivers. So up to year 10 it was boys only. But from year 11 onwards, the girls from Penley joined in with us and combined with our classes as well, which we all thought was terrific. Now, of course, along with that age and the new friendships that we found, there was the inevitable endless stream of parties in which I participated fully. And it was at one of those parties that someone finally brought along alcohol. Well, I thought this was great because it made my face numb and everything was hilarious. And that was a pattern that established itself for a long time afterwards. We'd have a party, drink a lot, dance a lot, sing a lot, usually in that sort of order, and then go home. Once we all turned 18, we all discovered pubs and live bands, concerts, surfing, and then into the workforce. And especially back in the 80s and early 90s, in those cultures, those 80s and 90s, those cultures also went along with copious amounts of drinking and silliness. A lot of my friends started using other drugs. I just stuck to alcohol because drugs are dangerous, man. I met Jackie and we got married and bought a house, had children, all the good things, really good things. But I was still taking the opportunity, any opportunity available to go out drinking with friends and workmates on a regular basis. I didn't see any problem with it. I wasn't harming anyone. I wasn't a violent drunk. I didn't cheat, I didn't drive. I was a happy drunk, a loud drunk, very loud. And then a sleepy drunk. I worked hard to provide for my family and I deserved to let loose sometimes. And that was a continuation of the pattern that had established itself. Moving forward to my early 30s, this is a specific incident. So I went to a work Christmas do, where we spent the entire afternoon on a boat with free alcohol. And I came home an absolute mess. Not a proud moment at all. I went inside and I crashed into bed. At some point after, I wake up and I look through the bedroom door to see my wife miserable on the couch. And I finally saw the damage that I was doing to our relationship and to our family. And I was ashamed. Now, shame is a very powerful thing. And it was at that moment that the thing at the back of my head that said it was okay to do this, that thing broke. And I haven't been drunk in the nearly 20 years since. Now, if that was the end of the story, I probably wouldn't be telling you that the best bit is yet to come. In the weeks that followed, I spent a lot of time thinking about what had happened. And it was about 6 weeks later that we went to a church service where the minister was talking about one of the ways to understand God's grace. And how, despite the fact that we don't deserve it, God never gives up on us because he loves us. God keeps on giving us opportunities to make our own decision to turn away from the things that separate us from God and to turn towards him. And in thinking about that a couple of weeks after that, it was like a light suddenly switched on. I realised that I had been living in God's grace. That God had been presenting me with many opportunities to see how wrong my behaviour was for a very long time. And I had ignored them. But God kept on trying. He kept his faith. Until eventually I saw and I turned. And I give thanks for that every day. I never wanted to tell this story. Like I said, shame's a very powerful thing. I'm not one for telling people God has spoken to me, but I do know that God has given me his grace. And I've also known for quite some time that I have to share that grace. And now I have. And that's all I have to tell you. So now we're going to sing. Can I announce the song?